Hello, welcome to the Courageous Self-Care podcast. I'm your host, Christina Marlette. On this show, we talk about self-care that requires courage. And that's because it's self-care where there can be fear involved. It might be uncomfortable. And I find all of those ways of practicing self-care tend to go along with what we do on the inside. So if we just focus on the external, if we focus on our bodies all the time, that's great. It's a great place to start. And yet when we go to the inside, when we work with our mindset and our beliefs and all of the different aspects that I've cultivated skill sets around for courageous self-care, it makes all of the external self-care more impactful and easier to keep up with. So it's really valuable to take a look at what's going on the inside. Often we do not know how to do that because it's just uncharted territory. And so it's useful to have a guide. That's why I'm here. I love to be a guide and share all about the different ways that we can practice courageous self-care, not just when we go on holiday or someday when we're not so busy, but every single day we can incorporate it in by making small tweaks. So it doesn't even actually take more time. It, in fact, expands time so we have more time to give to ourselves and then our loved ones as well. So I'm a guide here today, and I also love to invite other guides onto the show to expand the awareness of all of the different ways that we can practice self-care. So today I have with me Lorraine Clifford. Lorraine, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy that you're here too. So Lorraine, tell us a little bit about what you love to do and what you're up to.
Okay. Right now in my practice, I'm focusing more on breathing and Buteyko breathing, to be exact, which was developed by a medical doctor. It's been scientifically proven to work, and it's measurable. That's what I love about it. You know when you're doing this correctly. And I love anything to do with nutrition. I'm certified in nutrition, and I love cooking and using my dehydrator especially, and just tweaking things up just a little bit to make them just a little bit more healthier. We capture that energy from whatever it is that we're eating.
Right. The little tweaks and upgrades.
Yeah.
So unless you're going to talk about this next, what is Buteyko breathing for people who haven't heard about it?
Okay, Buteyko breathing is restorative breathing. So it's how we should breathe every breath. Most of us are upper chest breathers, and we tend to breathe too much. And in that process, we're not capturing enough CO2. I know it sounds really strange, but the bottom line is when we're breathing too much, when we're upper chest breathing, we're in that sympathetic nervous system and we're running there constantly. And there's a gamut of things that happen in our body that when we're in that fight or flight, that don't help us as far as our day-to-day life goes. It actually becomes a negative thing. So we need to be more in the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our calm, rest, and repair. And that's what this breathing does. It puts us in the parasympathetic nervous system. So it's all about slowing the breath down, being more conscious that you're breathing through your nose and you're engaging the diaphragm. And when that happens, the oxygen is actually able to offload properly to all of the tissues. Dr. Buteyko linked breathing as the root cause of over 200 different degenerative diseases.
Wow.
So if we're not breathing correctly, we're going to manifest whatever we're genetically disposed to.
Well, while you were talking about that, I was sure breathing nicely and deeply.
Well, and that's the thing though too. This isn't about a deep breath. It's about a gentle breath. And it's about connecting to the diaphragm, allowing the diaphragm to actually bring the air down to the lower parts of the lungs. So it's not about filling the breath. We are so, in today's society, everybody tells you, take a nice deep breath. But you cannot sustain a deep breath. You'll pass out. So one of the reasons you pass out, or the reason you pass out, is because of lack of oxygen. So taking a deep breath is kind of, we want to do it because it's been so ingrained in our society, but it's not the correct way to calm the body.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I think it's so interesting that something that we do all day, every day, there are so many different things to learn about it and so many ways we can get it wrong.
Yeah. Well, and we all understand that we have to eat a certain amount of food, right? If I decided today not to eat, I'd have, anywhere between 3 weeks and maybe 5 weeks, depending on how much extra you got on your body.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I was on a desert island, no food, no water, now I'm down to 3 to 7 days. But if I decided not to breathe, how much time do I have?
Well, not very much.
And that's where the important thing is, right?
Yes.
If it's that important to life, why are we not paying attention to how we're doing it?
Mm-hmm. Fascinating.
Yeah.
I love it. I love learning new things. So I love to have guests on the show share a current favorite self-care practice, something you do that really fills you up and nurtures and nourishes you. So what's something that you love to do for yourself, Lorraine?
I love to get out in nature and garden, and watch that seed develop from nothing or almost nothing. Some of them are really tiny, to something that's going to be that's going to help sustain my body. And and then bringing it into the house and using it in a way where I can capture as much of the essence and the energy from that. So if I'm cooking, it's going to be something that I'll probably add at the very end so I don't destroy the benefits from it. Yeah, and just following that line and being very present at all the love that went in there from the sun and the rain and the content in the soil. I mean, all that is important.
I think gardening also, although I'm not particularly a gardener, I only like weeding, which is usually the opposite of what most people like. But what I think is useful about gardening and getting out into nature is that it helps us remember that we are a part of nature and that everything is cyclical. And even when things seem like they have died, they're not actually dead, they're resting. And that gives us really powerful messages that I think a lot of people could pay more attention to rather than just being on the go all the time. Like, we can't just have the explosion of the plants and their abundance all the time. There's all the other parts of the cycle that go into it. And when I started to learn about being more in tune with nature and really examining the seasons and what's going on there, it helped me slow down, and also to understand that often what we're cultivating in our own lives is unseen for a really long time, and we just need to trust that those roots are growing down and that the shoots will come to the surface.
Yeah, exactly. And, I was reading something recently, and they were talking about, how important it is to every once in a while to watch that sunset and just remember that, the sun is very dependable. It's going to come up in the morning. And just knowing that that's the way life is, it's very dependable.
Yes.
If we look at it that way.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that with us. So we're going to pause for a quick commercial break. When we come back, Lorraine is going to share a story of courage. So stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thank you for being here. I am so grateful that you are taking the time for yourself to listen and learn and connect with other human beings. That is definitely a part of courageous self-care, understanding that it is okay to ask for help, which is what listening to a podcast embodies. And it's also valuable to make connections with other people who are maybe a little further along the path than you in a certain area of life, or just to get ideas from other people. That is so important. That is definitely a form of self-care. So we're going to move into the story of courage. I love this part of the show. So many people, so many of my guests have had all sorts of different experiences with the idea of courage being at the center. And one of the reasons I think it's important to hear stories of courage is because it brings that energy of courage from sometimes we believe that only other people have it. It brings it closer and closer to us until we can actually embody it and make our own courageous decisions. And truly, I think courage is a value, and it's both a value and a skill set. The more we go outside our comfort zone and practice being courageous, the more we can see changes in our lives. So I think courage is the one value and skill set that really does change everything. Having said that, Lorraine, I am looking forward to hearing your story of courage. So away you go.
Okay. When I was 36, I got diagnosed with cancer, and my mom had breast cancer, and it metastasized to bone cancer, and she passed away when she was 57. So 6 years later, that's when I got diagnosed with cancer. It was a totally different kind of cancer, so it wasn't genetic. And but it was very aggressive, and I got the diagnosis the end of March, and I was having treatment in April.
Wow.
So that was quick. Back then, they didn't tell what stage it was. They're just either there was an urgency or there wasn't. And I was really naive. I didn't know everything was happening so quickly, and I just kind of followed along with it. And so I initially had the lump removed in February, and the doctor who removed the lump said he was 99% sure it was nothing to worry about. And then got the diagnosis at the end of March that, yeah, it was something to worry about. And I went and I had radiation first, and then chemotherapy, and chemotherapy was administered intra-arterially, so as in ICU. It was supposed to be over a period of 3 weeks, and right around day 11 or 12, it was oozing out of my body, and they had to stop it.
Wow.
And then they did another surgery, and a year later, the cancer was back. And by that time, I had done my research, because everything happened so quickly, right? And I remember I was in the library at the Tom Baker Clinic searching out the big long name of it was a soft tissue sarcoma, and looking at what they were telling me about it. And what I found out was 75% of the people with that specific cancer didn't survive 5 years.
Wow.
And my thought was, oh my gosh, my mom only survived 4 years. They're telling me maybe 5 years. My kids are little. I had 4 kids. And I just couldn't see my husband being able to manage 4 kids, young kids. And then my next thought was, there was 25%.
Yes.
How did they do it?
Right.
And then that's when I started diving into absolutely everything that I could get my hands on. A really good book that I read was Love, Medicine, and Miracles by Bernie Siegel. And it's still, it's an old book. It's about 30 years old now. But it's still got pertinent information in it, And so when the cancer came back, I opted just to have the surgery, and that was it. Because I was already supplementing my diet with high-end nutraceuticals. I had already changed the way I was eating, and I had started looking at personal development. Now, I ended up going to the Tom Baker Clinic for 14 years.
Wow.
So most of the time was just a checkup, right? And they run some tests and say, okay, yeah, you're good, you can go. Because I guess they were concerned that 75% didn't survive past 5 years, so they were going to watch me longer than that. But I did so many changes. I went from, I always did eat a lot of vegetables and fruit, so that wasn't my biggest problem. But I wasn't doing organic. And there wasn't a whole lot of organic out then. And, so finding organic was a little difficult and was very pricey. But
Yes.
we shifted our diets completely organic. There's nothing but organic that comes into my house.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that changing my diet, changing my mindset, just changing, like looking at absolutely everything that I bring in the house. Is there chemicals in it? Is there chemicals on what I'm putting on my face and my skin? We've got to take control of the things that we can.
Right.
Because there's so much out there that we can't control. So we've got to educate ourselves and figure out what we need to do. So when I was dismissed from the Tom Baker Clinic, I went back to school. I had taken a lot of mini courses during that 14 years, but I went back to school when I was 51.
Wow.
I got certified in nutrition. And then I took German New Medicine.
Oh,
which
cool.
is
Yeah.
how the brain dictates the diseases we manifest.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a Reiki master. I've got extended nutritional certificates. It spurred on this need to know more about how this body works. And I so believe that our bodies will respond beautifully and miracles happen when we understand what we need to do.
Oh, exactly. Our bodies are giving us messages all the time. And often it takes a giant chaotic event like cancer to get us to really listen and reflect.
Yeah. And that's, I think, a lot of people will ask me, well, when's a good time for me to do this? Now.
Yes.
And if it's not now, when's a good time for you to do this? Now. Change isn't easy, but we're so structured in our life that when we introduce change, it's got to be baby steps.
Yes.
Because if you take on too much, you'll give up. It's just overwhelming. I remember when someone told me, when I understood that I had to take out wheat and sugar and a lot of unhealthy oils, and and I remember looking at that, especially the wheat,
Yeah.
everything. What, I won't be able to eat anything. But there's so much out there. There's so many other ways that you can get around, not having that wheat in your diet.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah, so that was, going back to school at the age of 51, full time, was a big step for me.
Yeah.
I was definitely not the oldest. There was one lady who was a couple months older than me, who was in class too.
Yeah, and then if all sorts of thoughts can come up, like, am I too old to do this? Our mind will always come up with tricky ideas that seem really true to keep us in the familiarity zone around what we've already been doing. But it's so valuable to know that those thoughts are just tricks. The trick's just trying to trick you. They're not true. And you get to choose what you think. So you can make the exact opposite. Like, wow, I still have so much time left. It's a good thing I'm learning this now.
Well, and I think right now, like, I'm still learning. I'm still getting myself into different courses because I just want to know as much as I can so I can help other people. Because one of the biggest things for me when I was going through all that cancer and everything is I really thought that somebody had looked at all of these things that we can purchase and deemed them okay.
Yeah, that's not true.
I was just naive that way.
Yes.
And no, we have to look at the ingredients. We have to know what those ingredients are. If we don't know what it is, don't buy it.
Yeah.
And then if it's processed or packaged, how did they make it stay so long?
Right. Yeah. That's a big concern.
Where's the energy in that food? There's none.
Yeah.
There's none. Our biggest problem today is that we're trying to sustain life on stuff that has no energy in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've got to get back to the way things have been for thousands of years. Hunter-gatherers, you know?
Yeah.
That's what we need.
I totally agree. Lorraine, thank you for sharing that story of courage. It's super powerful. And I think some of the key points in there are that, yes, definitely educate yourself. And also, I love how you brought curiosity into your experience. So the first time was overwhelming. People were just telling you what to do. But then you decided to take ownership of it and get curious, like, what is this? How can I shift it? And I totally admire and have gone through the same journey myself with personal development. Sometimes it seems like it's over the top and cheesy, and people who don't get it, but that is okay, because being immersed in personal development experiences wherein you're investing in yourself and you're learning about yourself, that is what changes everything. And so I admire you for doing that. I have done a lot of that myself. And yeah, it truly changes your life and is definitely a form of courageous self-care. So if people are connecting with your story and want to learn more about these services that you offer in the Buteyko Breathing, where can they find you online?
It is www.breathway, BREATHWAY.com.
Beautiful.
And I will be putting up a guided meditation.
Excellent. Yay.
Everybody who's listening.
Excellent. So I will put the link for the website and the free gift that Lorraine is making for you will be in the show notes. You can click on that and it will whisk you away with the magic of technology right to where you want to be.
Yes.
So Lorraine, thank you so much for sharing your story and your self-care practices and what you're passionate about. It has been a real pleasure chatting with you today.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And for you listeners, thank you for tuning in. I'm grateful for this time that we have gotten to connect. If you enjoyed the show and want to make a difference, you can give it a thumbs up or a like, whatever platform you're listening to it on. You could share it with a friend who needs to hear this information. You could become a subscriber on the platform that you're listening to. All of that helps because I just want as many people to hear about courageous self-care as possible, because a world where people know their self-worth and know how to take care of themselves and have overflowing energy so that it spills out. It's not coming from a place of bitterness and resentment and emptiness and being totally tired. It's coming from a place of overflow. That's the kind of world I want to live in. So the more people that hear about it, the better. Thank you for doing that. Thanks again, Lorraine, for being here.
And thank you.
My pleasure. And come back and listen again. The show's on once or twice every week with always great ideas on how to incorporate courageous self-care into your life. Thank you for listening. I look forward to connecting with you again next time. Bye-bye for now.